That's right. It's that time again. It's Wednesday night, so you know what that means. It's time for the Convene Communities podcast. And no, we don't have Matt tonight, but we have Jeff. Jeff!
Yes.
Jeff's the savior.
Yes. And Eugene. Eugene's the savior.
I was going to say, that's it? Just Jeff?
Well, look, you didn't give me time, man. You know, I'm not real quick, if you will.
Yeah. We don't need Matt. Who needs Matt?
Yeah, what's this show about tonight anyway? I mean, come on.
Well, I think we got a great show. We were just talking about all sorts of awesome things, and it all revolves around you, Doc.
Oh, boy.
It all revolves around you.
That's
Welcome,
scary.
everybody. Welcome to the Convene Communities Podcast. I've already messed it up. Matt's going to be so mad at me. But who cares? He's not here. Doesn't matter.
You're
this is gonna be an
fired.
awesome show. This is going to be an awesome show. We got Andy Doc Barker here with us. Not only is he the producer of the show, not only is he the wizard behind the curtain and behind the screen, but he's going to be telling us all about himself today. So that's pretty exciting. What about you? What do you think, Eugene?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I don't know really anything about the good Doc, and he's got a lot to offer, a lot to say, and so it's all about him tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so it'll be even more fun watching him produce the show and ask questions.
Right.
And try to come up with jokes and everything else all at the same time.
Right.
I can multitask. Don't make me put the wig back on.
No, don't put the wig. I'd rather you put the UNC Chapel Hill football hat back on.
I couldn't do that to my head. There's no way.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, fellas. Thanks for being here tonight. It's always an honor. It's just kind of weird that it's about me tonight. So I'm kind of freaking out in a good way. I like being behind the scenes. I don't necessarily like being in front of the scenes. So this is we'll get through it.
Yeah. You're going to be awesome. So, well, let's start it this way, Doc. Tell us about yourself. Where'd you grow up? What were you like as a kid?
I like long walks on the beach.
Nice.
Oh wait, dang, I couldn't. I was really trying to get through it without being a smart ass. I couldn't do it.
No, be yourself.
So I am the son of a retired Coast Guard warrant officer. So growing up, every 2 years we moved my whole life. So I've been attached to military in one way or another, basically since I was born. I was just shy of a year old when my dad got to really, truly meet me for the first time because he was in Vietnam. So we moved everywhere. You know, I've lived in many, many states, Cleveland, New Jersey. We lived in New York, Alabama, Texas.
Start naming where you haven't lived.
It's probably easier.
Wow.
So growing up the way I did with my dad being an old salty warrant officer, life wasn't always easy. He was very strict. So growing up, we didn't have the greatest relationship, especially in my teenage years. And when we moved here to St. Louis, it was, I guess, 1983. So the year after the Cardinals won the World Series in 82. That's how I remember things. It's crazy.
Sports states.
Right. But so going through high school here, I was full of myself like every teenager is and thought I knew everything, which I didn't. So my relationship with my father was, it was kind of a rough one. And after I joined, I knew from a very young age that I was going to join the military. So after I joined, I realized that, well, he was right. I was wrong. And I swallowed my pride. And we had an amazing relationship from that point on. It was really more friends than father and son.
Yeah.
I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy at 18, right out of high school, and left and never looked back, man. And I know we talked a little bit prior to the show starting. Somebody asked why the Navy.
Yeah.
So I joined the Navy because I wanted to be a SEAL.
Okay.
Didn't know how to swim, but wasn't worried about that. I knew if you want something bad enough, you'll get it, right?
Right.
Well, I joined the Navy, and the next thing I know, I'm getting attached to a Marine Corps unit. Not what I anticipated, not what I wanted, but it ended up being the best time of my career, hands down.
Hold on, Doc. I don't know what that means because I don't have that military background. You said you're in the Navy, but you're attached to a Marine unit. What's that mean?
Great point. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah.
So the Marine Corps falls under the Department of the Navy. Therefore, they don't have an independent medical, dental, chaplain components, things of that nature. So they basically take those components from the Navy. So I'm in the Navy, but I'm serving with a Marine Corps unit. I follow their regulations, do everything that they do, in addition to taking care of them when they're sick or they're hurt, they're injured, whatever the case may be. It's fantastic. And the reason I still go by Doc to this day is because that is a title that's earned and not given. So if you're ever with a Marine unit and you see one of the Marines call their corpsman, that's a problem. That means there's no trust. And yeah, Doc is a title that's earned. It's revered amongst the Marines, especially the infantry Marines, because you are on the front lines with them. You're doing everything that they're doing. You're the lifeline if they get hit. It's your responsibility to get them to that next echelon of care to save their life. So it's a very strong bond.
Sure.
And I have Marine brothers that, like Matt, I will never. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him. I'd drop everything at a heartbeat if one of my brothers said they needed something, and I'd be on the road.
Yeah,
but
I've heard that a lot from the military. I mean, Eugene, you even speak to that with the Army side of it as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I didn't serve like a long time like Doc and Matt. I just did 5 years, but the camaraderie and the brotherhood of the military reaches far and wide with a lot of folks. So my father was in the military for years as well, so certainly can relate to your story. The question I have, Doc, you obviously then were a medic in the military.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
corpsman is just another word for medic. Now, most corpsmen will get very upset if you call them a medic because there are differences. The training, number one, is different between a corpsman, just a basic corpsman, and your standard Army medic. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Eugene, there's so many. It's like corpsmen are a jack of all trades, and I think in the Army, if I remember correctly, as a medic, you have to have a certain MOS to be able to do certain things. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's usually the way it works. And I'm not familiar with the Navy's term, so I just wanted for the audience for you to take a deeper dive into it.
Yeah, it's amazing. You get 14 weeks of basic hospital corpsman school, and then you move on to field medical service school. They actually call it what do they call it nowadays? They changed it. It's Field Medical Training Battalion, and there's an East Coast and a West Coast school. And so it's a 7-week course. They basically go in and teach you how to wear a Marine uniform, how to patrol, how to hike, in addition to a lot of your field medicine, expedient, dressings, how to save a life, how to do cricothyroidotomies, airways, and all that stuff. And it was awesome. I loved it.
So you're telling me that you had 21 weeks of basically medical training. You said 14 weeks and then 7 weeks?
Basically. And
then you're right out in the field if you need to be.
Oh yeah. Wow. It's like drinking through a fire hose.
Yeah,
it really is.
Apparently. Wow, that is crazy.
So in addition to that, I had about 8 years in when I decided to apply for a school called Independent Duty Corpsman School. And essentially what that school is you are just that independent of a medical officer. So they train essentially like a physician assistant minus the geriatric and pediatric components. So, and then you go on either small ships, submarines, back with the Marines, Seabees, any kind of independent platform that's small enough where they won't put a doctor. That's where an independent duty corpsman goes. So I did that for 10 years. I served. It was funny. I went to school. I graduated. And I went right back to the very same infantry battalion I was with 10 years prior to that.
Wow.
And so that was cool.
Chance?
Yeah, I had it's that's why they call them orders. You know, they're not want tos, they're orders.
Yeah. Huh.
Eugene knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you mentioned boat and Navy and 10 years. So what's it like to be? Were you in you said at one point you were in a submarine? Was that right?
Correct. Yeah.
So how long were you in a submarine? And tell me what that's like, because I've only been on one in a museum and a shipyard or whatever. I can't even imagine.
So it's funny. I went from an infantry battalion, and my buddy Ron's in the room. He's I'm sure he's laughing at all this. What up, Ron? Yeah. So I went from an infantry battalion to a submarine, and I had a very hard time adjusting.
Okay.
It wasn't the confined space. It wasn't the work. I'll be completely honest when I say it was the attitude. Submariners think they're so special. They get told from the very beginning when they come in the Navy how special they are. And there's a very incredible history of submarines, dating back to the heroics that they did. But
sure,
nowadays there's nothing special about them, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It was crazy because...
Why? Because the subs are so advanced?
Yeah. You're working... submarines operate on 18, at least we used to operate on an 18-hour day. So you would spend 6 hours on watch, 6 hours off doing your normal job, and then 6 hours of sleep. But you've got a rack to sleep in. You're not sleeping out in the weather. Nobody's shooting at you. You're getting 4 meals, not 3, 4 meals a day, because we have something called midrats. And so that's for the offgoing and oncoming midnight watch standers. They missed chow because obviously they're sleeping. So just the attitude of thinking how special they were, and I have to admit I was kind of cocky back then too. But coming from one mindset for so long, I had 14 years with the Marine Corps, and then going to the Navy side of the house was very rough for me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I fit in. As a matter of fact, I almost got into a fist fight with my chief of the boat on cruise mess one day.
Probably not good.
No, it wasn't good. But again, you put a type A personality and you get somebody trying to jump in your face thinking they're tough, and when they were completely wrong. Well, hell, I'll share the story. Why not? So I had a sailor that was pretty sick, and we were in port. And on Fridays around the fleet, submarine fleet, if a submarine is in port, it's field day. And what field day is, it's not going out and having fun. It's cleaning up the boat. As we like to say, rub-a-dub-dub, clean up the sub. But so the chief of the boat was let's just say he suffered from Napoleonic syndrome. He was about my height and just was a bully. Basically, he threatened the chiefs on the boat all the time with their fit reps, and he put out a thing that said on Fridays, no one leaves my boat because it's field day. No one goes anywhere until I tell them they can. Well, again, I had this sailor that was sick. I wasn't sure what was wrong with him, and it had been a couple of days. I went up and I told the XO and the skipper that, hey, I'm taking so-and-so to squadron medical. They're like, okay. I went down, I let the Cobb know, chief of the boat. I said, hey, Cobb, I'm taking so-and-so to medical. He says, you're not leaving my boat. Excuse me? Says, it's field day, Doc. Nobody leaves my boat. I said, well, first of all, I'm not asking your permission. I'm just having the courtesy to let you know I'm leaving. And again, nobody's leaving my boat, blah, 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 blah. I said, well, I'm not going to argue with you right now because this individual is very sick. We can talk about it when I come back. So I walk out of the chief's mess. We go down. I'm taking the guy. We're going up the aft hatch. And the Cobb grabs my arm. He said, hey, Doc, I said nobody leaves my boat. And I looked at him. I said, Cobb, if you ever touch me again, I will break every bone in your freaking body. And he was like, are you threatening me? I said, no, sir, that's a promise. I said, fuck around, mess around and find out. And we'll go from there. So that was kind of the atmosphere I had to deal with on the boat.
Wow.
So it made things very difficult.
Yeah.
The actual work itself, there's a lot of work because I was the sole medical provider for 140 people on that boat. And I wore several hats. I was not only the doc, but I was the radiation health officer, the gas-free engineer, chaplain, mother, father, you name it.
Right.
So I was busy enough throughout the entire time that it never affected, I didn't have to think about how enclosed the space was or man, this sucks because I can't see the daylight or anything like that. There was enough to do.
Well, that's awesome, man. What a story. I mean, I'm sure you got 1,000 more stories like that. So
Tons.
That's crazy. So you mentioned you wanted to be a Navy SEAL at the beginning, and so when I was in college, one of my teammates went in after school, went to the Navy, and he became a Navy SEAL.
Oh, fantastic.
And he was Tommy's, and he was a state champion wrestler in high school, big, strong kid. Just had, wonderful personality, but also just that, like, don't mess with me personality when he needed it, right? So I remember about, 2-3 years after he graduated, I was coaching at the time at the same school, and he came back for alumni week, homecoming weekend, alumni weekend, and he brought like 5 or 6 of his Navy SEAL buddies. And so we're out practicing. And just from around the street, they all come run, like they went on a big run, right? So here they are, these strong-looking Navy SEAL guys, shirts off, running in, and we're just kind of looking like, oh my gosh, it's Tommy, sort of thing, right? So, we caught up a little bit, and I said, hey, I'll catch up with you in a little while. And he goes, well, actually, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. And I said, oh, you're going back home? He goes, no, I'm leaving, but he couldn't say anymore, right?
Right.
And he had an older brother on the team, Paul, who I became good friends with. And about a year later, I just said, Paul, I haven't heard from Tommy or seen Tommy lately. And he goes, I don't know where he is. And he goes, I know he's alive, but I don't know where he is. And this was probably early 2000s, right? So there's a lot going on in the Middle East and around the world. And, fast forward a number of years, caught up with him again, probably, 8-10 years ago. And he had since left the Navy SEALs program, left the Navy. And I don't know any of the details, but he had a really hard time apparently after he left the military. And all that he would say, and then his brother, same thing, is he just saw a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And did a lot of stuff, right? And that's all he'll say. But now he's living out west. I see pictures of him all the time, but it took him a long time to get through the rehab, if you will. And I don't even know if he went to rehab. He may have, but I just say sort of the rehab of becoming, I guess, a civilian again. So I know you had not the same circumstance and all that, but tell us about you exiting the military and that transition.
Sure. Yeah. Real quick, I will say, because I'm sure people want to know. I actually never went to BUD/S, Basic Underwater Demolition School, SEAL School.
Okay.
I found, had a really good friend of mine, I'll just call him Mike, who was a reconnaissance corpsman, a Marine Recon, which is the Marine Corps' equivalent of the SEAL team or Special Forces, if you will. And it took a long time for them to get accepted into Special Operations Command. However, I found that, and I did that. So it was very rewarding. I ended up dropping out of one of the schools due to an injury, and I should have went back, but I never did. And that's one of the great regrets I'll have to deal with the rest of my life. Yeah. And there's many reasons.
We all have regrets that, wish we would have done something else. Yeah.
Many reasons as to why. But anyway, before I get to exiting the military, what I did, I put myself through school, became a nurse. So I was commissioned in the Navy Nurse Corps. I did that. I was an ER trauma nurse for the last 11 years of my career. And then when my dad got sick, I took a humanitarian transfer back to St. Louis, and I took care of him for the last year of his life. So wasn't in the plan. Obviously, no one ever plans for that kind of thing, but things always work out in a way that's meant to be. So I ended up retiring here, and I'm still struggling today. I retired in 2001. So, 2.5 years ago, and I still struggle with my identity, finding out who I am, what is my place, where do I belong? Because, for 32 years I wore the uniform, and taking that off for the last time was just like taking my identity off. Yeah. So, and being here in the Midwest, there's not much Navy here. In fact, there's not a lot of military in general. Yeah. So I struggle daily to find someone that I can kind of relate to. In addition to, dealing with PTSD, I had a TBI, I'm 100% disabled. And I don't say that for pity. I don't use it as a crutch, but I found that the more I talk about these things, the better I heal. And if I can help somebody else heal in that process just by talking about it, well, then that's what life's all about.
Yeah.
So I don't work. I am fully retired. Well, I won't say I don't work. I don't have a job. Let's say that.
I was just going to say that. Okay.
Right.
You're working on this right now.
Right.
Yeah. And plus some other stuff that we'll talk about a little bit later.
And I love it, man. I love doing this.
Yeah. So Alma's sitting right there with you.
She's on her bed.
My dog moved from underneath my feet to the door, so something's going on outside. So my family's over at the in-laws right now, and so she's playing protector right now. So that's what I got going on.
Ron injects in the room. I haven't had a job since he's known me, and I've known Ron since probably 91, 92.
Or work, he says.
But well, I mean, I learned from the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure, there you go. Have some of that, Ron.
Yeah. Hey.
Right. So let's transition to Convene and what you are doing now.
Yeah.
Right?
So perfect. I met Matt doing podcasting. Shocking.
There you go.
And so we got on board and we talked and he told me all about Convene and the cult the wonderful platform that it is. And it's been fantastic getting to know and understand Matt. But anyway,
How many people will not understand that correlation?
That's all right.
That's funny.
That's okay.
Yeah. So
sometimes you have to leave a little mystery there.
Yes, right. You met Matt through podcasting. What podcast was this?
I don't even remember. I think it was Joint Task Force 22-0.
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
But I don't remember. I don't know what I had for breakfast, let alone 4 or 5 years ago. But anyway, we bonded right off the bat. Even though he's a nasty pilot, we won't take that away from him.
Yeah,
but
everybody's gonna have a job.
Right. And somebody's got to, take the Warriors to where they need to fight. But,
right.
God, I hope he's listening.
Please.
Really hope he's
listen
listening.
to it later.
So initially it was, hey, he told me about the conference and I offered, hey, why not come down and video for you?
Right.
So I did.
So what people might not know, or some people might not know, is the conference he's talking about is Convene 23. So we had our first ever convention here in Winston-Salem, February, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. Yeah, February. And it was a great event. Eugene was one of the keynote speakers and highlight speakers, and it was a great event. I thought it was awesome. We had a number of people come up and talk about Convene and why they chose Convene. And Doc, if I remember, you had at least 2, but did you have 3 different camera stations up?
Yeah, we had three cameras up. It was really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell us about that from your perspective. From I don't want to say the outside looking in, but kind of that almost a bird's eye view of what that was all about.
Yeah, well, that's almost exactly what it was, because I really didn't know a lot about Convene at the time. So being kind of that outside guy just filming, it was very, very educational, but super powerful and super moving, listening to everyone's stories. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And I found everyone there was just so genuine. Everyone had a story to share and a purpose behind what they were doing. And that's the cool thing about Convene, is that there are just so many different avenues that people can be involved in.
Right.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So that I kind of got bit by the bug a little bit at the conference.
Well, I was
Yeah, go
saying that you certainly did your part, Doc, and we certainly appreciate it. Doc drove from Missouri
Yeah.
all the way to the Carolinas to spend all that time with us, and really was compensated in the form of room and board and maybe some meals. So, you know, the work that you do with us and the work that you will be doing, helping people with podcasts and shows, are certainly invaluable to us. So we certainly appreciate it. And we'll talk a little bit about kind of what you offer for those that may be interested in doing their own show. So certainly thank you for making that long trip, Doc. It was good.
It was my pleasure. And you know, when you've got something like this platform that's doing such great things, it's super easy to make that choice and saying, you know what, I'm on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, before we get into the podcasting part, I don't know if I want to backtrack a touch, but Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy.
Yes.
Yeah, Matt was, that's not, I thought maybe that's how you and Matt connected originally.
No.
Okay. Well, tell us about, for those that don't know, it's an awesome organization from what I've known. And we have that group in the umpiring community for it. But tell us about the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy.
So let me preface it by saying Matt is the one that talked me into going to this. I didn't want to. I had no desire to be a baseball umpire.
Did you ever play baseball growing up?
I played baseball.
Okay. Yeah.
But no desire to be an umpire. So he talked me into going, and I did. And what the Wounded Warrior Umpire Academy is, it's a nonprofit organization that takes veterans that are wounded, whether it's physically, mentally, or ill, teach them how to be an umpire. Mm-hmm. And we use umpiring and we use baseball as a conduit to basically get our veterans back to a sense of purpose, help them assimilate back into the community, give them a trade, if you will. You can make really good money umpiring. Mm-hmm. Most importantly, it's to get back that camaraderie, that brotherhood, and that sisterhood. And what is really, I think, the highlight of the entire organization is that we have a period of instruction throughout the week. It's a 10-day course, and we call it SDI time. And what that is essentially something that we stole from Marine Corps boot camp. You have a senior drill instructor in Marine Corps boot camp, and SDI time is senior drill instructor time, where that senior drill instructor will take off his hat, his campaign cover, and he'll sit down, and they will have basically, all right, it's time to be man to man, man to woman. We're having serious talks here. We're not playing games. And so we took that model and we use it as peer-to-peer counseling. And we've done some outstanding work over the last 3 years. We've saved, I can tell you, at a minimum 2 lives this past year.
Wow.
I'm not ashamed at all.
By having them join the academy and become umpires.
Yes.
Wow.
Because again, it's, baseball is the excuse.
Yeah.
We're teaching a skill, but we're really out there for the veterans. Right. It saved my life. There's no doubt about it. So I was so moved by it that I wanted to do whatever I could to help out the organization. So I'm now a board member. And I will push it as long as it exists, because I have seen firsthand the good and the lives that it has saved.
How many umpires are part of the association now?
We have, we're coming up close, about 200 alumni now.
Wow. And are they where are they mainly located? Because I know that at least one of the academies or the weekends or whatever was out on the East Coast, maybe South Carolina. Is that what I heard? Yeah.
So we rotate spots every couple of years. Okay. The last 2 years we were in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Okay. We have been in South Carolina. There's been a course in Colorado.
So it's all over.
Yeah, and we try to spread it out, make it easier
Sure.
for folks to get to. Now, here's the great part about this organization. Like I said, it's a nonprofit organization, but the individuals that attend, their flights are paid for, their hotels are paid for, their food is paid for, and they get about $1,500 worth of brand new umpire gear donated to them by umpatire.com.
Wow.
So it's such an amazing program.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I played baseball growing up. I played 2 years in college, and I remember, in high school and college summer, I was an umpire a couple times for little leagues, and I've been a coach my whole life, so I've heard, not from a coach's perspective, but man, people get so upset at balls and strikes. People get so upset about the close calls at first or second that they can't even see, like they have no idea.
Right.
It's amazing. So I can, maybe you can speak to this. I can only imagine that um, the temperament to be a successful umpire probably has a good equivalency with the temperament of a good soldier, of a good military person.
I would agree with that. The nice thing about one of my disabilities is my hearing. So if I got my back to the crowd, I can't hear what they're saying, which is nice.
Right. Doesn't matter if you're blind or not. You can't hear them
Right.
anyway.
Yeah. Yell all you want. I don't care. It's funny. I joke about that, but at our plate meeting at the beginning of the game, before the game starts, I tell the coaches, "Hey, listen, I'm hard of hearing. I'm not ignoring you. If you need my attention, get it."
Right.
Because I was accused of ignoring a coach one game, and I just couldn't hear him, and he was irate. He's jumping up and down, and I finally saw him, and he comes out, and he's wanting to get into my rear end. I said, "Listen, man, I'm not ignoring you. I can't hear you."
Right.
And he goes, "Well, I don't believe." I said, "I'm a disabled veteran, man. I can't hear you. Use your big boy voice, and we'll talk, okay?"
And then he's got nothing to say. Oh,
Right.
okay, all right.
And he's like, "All right." And then he went back, and I addressed his issue, and we handled it fine, and the game moved on.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I'm sure Matt may have told you, but you need to ask Matt about his umpiring. His umpiring, maybe a year or two ago. He ended up getting out of it just for time's sake, but he would tell me some of these stories of some of these high school coaches, man. It's amazing. So anyway, so I think it's both thanks for your service and thanks for your service as an umpire, because neither of them are easy.
Right. It's difficult, but I do like doing the high school level simply because you can get on any social media platform now and you can see the abuse that these umpires are taking.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. There's no need for it. It's a game. Parents, and it's almost always the parents,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
Way to set that example.
Right.
Yeah. So I, as a coach, especially going in when I transitioned out of college into high school, one of the first things I said to the parent group was, "Don't be those parents."
Right.
And I had a little bit of kind of stick with them, because I actually recruited at that high school a number of times, and I knew some of these parents, some of these kids,
Mhm.
and I just said, "Look, I've been here, I've heard it." I said, "No more. Just sit there on your hands and keep your mouth closed. If you need to go yell, go in the car and scream, and then come back." So,
Right.
and to the credit, they've been great, So, but it's
Well,
not an easy gig.
at the high school level, there's more for these guys to lose, and that's both the players and the coaches.
Right.
They're held responsible by their athletic directors, as they should be. Yeah. So if they get thrown out of a game, well, then they get a game or two suspension,
Right.
And who wants that?
No,
So,
nobody does.
And the nice thing, at least here in Missouri, the way it works is that if a fan gets ejected, that coach gets ejected as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's some high stakes.
I've had a couple games where I've had parents that were being ridiculous, and I went over to coach and I told him, I said, "Listen, you handle it or I do."
Right, because they know they're gone too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Well, good for you. So that's quite a couple of good services there. So, but well, you just started a podcast. Well, you're in the podcast community now, right? I think
Correct.
We had it. We brought it back because of you.
correct.
And obviously you're doing podcasts, and it's, as Eugene was saying beforehand, it's not easy. Everybody thinks they could probably do it, and full disclosure, I shared you with my little setup here because our office downstairs is got school stuff in it from the kids and all that. So now
Right.
I've got a ladder with the camera and a light over here. So, everybody thinks they could be a podcaster. What do you say to that?
I think everybody can be
Yeah.
with a little bit of knowledge.
Right.
It's not that difficult. The more you do it, the better you get, obviously.
Sure.
I think I've been doing podcasting for about 8 years now, and the hardest thing at first was to get over hearing my own voice. It's so tough, and I don't know why. No one likes to hear their own voice,
Right.
but you get used to it, and then
See, for me, it's seeing myself.
yeah.
Like trying not to look over here, but look over here, and then every once in a while you got to, am I doing something stupid? Do I,
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, it's hard for me to look at you too, but
I set myself up. I knew that was
you totally did. I think podcasting can be easy, but you have to put a little bit of planning into it. You have to know what you want to talk about. You can't just come in and willy nilly and wing it.
right.
That'll work for a little bit, but it won't. It's not enough to sustain a successful podcast.
Yeah. So, what is enough? What's the first basic that you really need? Not necessarily equipment wise, because I think equipment probably vary a little bit. But what's the first thing you need in terms of, I guess, experience or something like that for successful podcasting?
Well, you have to first come up with a platform that you want to talk about.
Sure.
If you jump
It's
into it
easier said
before
than
that, what's that?
Which is easier said than done.
Yes. And I caution folks, try not to make it such a niche item that you'll run out of things to talk about in a month or two.
Right.
So, I've learned through a lot of trial and error. I did that. I had a podcast that I started called Throwing Down with Andy, and it was all about martial arts, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it was fun, but you can only talk about that stuff for so much, and
Right.
and I found myself wanting to talk about different subjects, and that just wasn't the right platform. So that's why I came up with the Nothing's Off the Table platform.
Okay.
Now we can talk to anybody about anything and still have a good time.
Yeah. What's the best nothing's on the table? Or what did you just say?
Nothing's off the table.
I said on. Nothing's off. What's the best episode so far?
It would probably have to be the episode that I did with retired Navy SEAL Don Shipley. We've got close to 50,000 views on it.
Wow. Awesome.
And it was just a fun interview. It was like he's an old retired senior chief. I was a chief at one point, and just like, to me, it felt like two chiefs sitting at the chief's mess in a bar, swapping stories. It wasn't really an interview. It was just two old goats telling telling stories.
And where can people find that?
It's
more
on YouTube on Nothing's Off the Table, our YouTube channel. And it's it was a great episode, but I was still pretty new to podcasting at that point, and so the audio wasn't the best. But the interview, the content was really good.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Maybe you need to take your podcast to an actual bar, right up on the bar, and
Well, we could do that.
yeah.
I have gone mobile. We did a one mobile 2 years ago. We did a Halloween show, and we did it at a place called Mineral Springs Hotel, which is in Alton, Illinois, and it's supposed to be like the most haunted location around. The only thing haunted that night was our podcast, but
Didn't go well.
it went okay. But it was on location, so we had some folks. I just won't say anymore.
No,
I'll leave it at that.
Right. So your podcast group then in or community, what's your goal with the podcasting community and the group? I know I'm looking forward to following it taking the experiences and everything else?
So my goal for the community is it's kind of twofold. Number one, I want to offer my services to anyone that would like me to produce their podcast.
Sure.
And, there's a lot of benefits to that because as you guys know, whenever we're doing a show that's not focused on me, I'm constantly in the background. I'm making sure different things are going, getting slides ready, putting slides up, transitioning to this, transitioning to that, following the chat room. That's a lot. And, for somebody who just wants to come on and put their information out and do a show, I'm your guy. I take care of all of that. I take care of where it streams to. We put it up on an audio platform if you want as well. And I don't even have to be on the camera. I can be in the back of the, behind the scenes, if you will, and I'll still run your podcast.
Yeah.
The second thing, the goal that I have is I want to teach people how to podcast, how to get started, what equipment should they start out with, platforms, how to go about setting things up. Should it be a weekly show? Should it be, more than that? Should it be a monthly? All these things that come into play, I would like to be able to help people figure out what they want to do.
Yeah. Eugene, I've monopolized a lot of the questions because they just keep popping in my head. So, and I can tell you have one before, but before that, speaking of you wanting to help people with the podcast, they can also help you with the podcast by the little donate button up in the corner of the screen there, right? So if you guys feel compelled, $1, $2, whatever you want, $10, $100, you choose. But Doc does an unbelievable job. We restarted, I guess, the podcast a little over a month ago, and just the ease, I guess it's almost 2 months ago now, but the ease as to which, for me to jump into the room, 20, 30 minutes beforehand, have the chat, have the talk. This is what's that. I mean, Doc, you just take care of it all behind the scenes and does an unbelievable job. So anybody that wants to have a podcast, contact Doc, but also, like I said, use that donate button up in the corner there.
I appreciate that. And my goal is to make it as flawless as possible, as seamless as possible for you guys. You jump on and you do the show, and I take care of everything else.
Yeah, and you do.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and where are they going to find you, Doc? Can you hear me okay?
What?
Can you hear me?
Say again?
No, look, I plugged this little speaker in because your voice and your equipment is so much richer and clearer. And I thought, well, if I plug it in, I'm not even sure if it's coming through differently than normal. But that's some of the things that you teach people, from an equipment standpoint, a setup standpoint, the value of doing a podcast to brand yourself, to market yourself, obviously, to monetize your audience, all of that you'll get into. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do I sound any differently with the speaker on? Testing. No.
No.
You have to actually turn it on though.
Yeah, it's see, you don't normally talk into speakers. It's usually this thing called a microphone.
Is this not a microphone?
You said it was a speaker. I'm going with what you said because I believe you and I trust you.
Yeah. So where would they find you? Go ahead. Like they're going to find you in Convene under the podcast community, community, or where?
So there's a couple different areas that you can find me at. I have a group under the Troubadour Media Group, and that's my Madsis Productions group, and we do a lot of video production and things of that nature. But I also have a couple other areas. We just started I'm remiss for not remembering the proper title, but it's an outdoor adventure group.
Adventure community.
Yes, the adventure community. Thank you for.
That's what I was going to talk about next. I love it.
It's one of my issues. Again, I have a lot of memory issues and things I want to say. I know what I want to say, but I can't get the words out sometimes, and it's very frustrating. So, thanks for the backup there.
I resemble that remark, so don't worry about it. I do the same.
But anyway, yeah. So what I do on the adventure group or the adventure community is I go camping a lot. I love being in the outdoors, and I do a lot of product review videos. So, and they're they're pretty honest. If it's a piece of gear that's not worth a crap, then I'll tell you straight up. And
Right.
it's probably why I don't get sponsored by anybody. But you know,
Soon you will. I love that community. It was something that so a couple of years ago. I've always loved camping. My parents were teachers, and so we're fortunate enough to be able to travel in the summer. And so I just remember as a kid, we'd have our luggage was the old Stroh's bottle box, like really
yeah,
like durable ones, right? And that was it. That's what we packed in. My brother and I got one of those. We just packed our stuff in. We hopped in our Ford Excursion van and went all over the country, and it was awesome. And that's where I really fell in love with camping. And then just recently, you know, we used to go camping with my girls and tent camping. And 3 years ago, we bought a camper. And before they really start getting too old, a couple of summers ago, we decided to take a big trip out west. We drove out to Denver, up to Estes, up to the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone, all the way back to the Badlands and back. And it was an awesome trip. So that's when we started talking about the adventure community. And my daughters still have the plan to start raiding or do like a little campground raiding from a kids. Well, they're not kids anymore, but from a non-adult standpoint. You know, is it good? Does it have good kid-friendly stuff and playgrounds and pools and all that sort of stuff? So they're still working on that. But you know, you doing the product rating, it reminds me of those kids that are on YouTube and they unpackage all the gifts and then the toys and they play with it. How fun is that for you on the camping side of it? Unpackage something and then get to play with it all weekend.
well, I mean, I'm a big kid at heart, so of course it's a blast. You know, it's
That's fantastic.
it is. It's a lot of fun. I've had some really good comments. People have made some good comments on the reviews.
Yeah.
Some of them, you know, whatever. But
Right. So the difference then with these kids, well, there's a lot of differences, but you know, these people unpackaging things and showing it on YouTube and just the video, and then YouTube you have the comments. The difference with Convene though is it's similar. You have the product, but you can actually have a write up of the entire product in the background and put whatever it is you want in it. Have your video maybe of you opening it up and using it. And in the comments section, it's not just one way, right?
right.
It's back and forth, right? So
Yeah,
so you said
absolutely.
you had a couple good comments. Tell us about that.
Well, I just had on the YouTube, not so much in Convene because the Convene is you know, I just
Still
built
growing.
it.
Yeah, still growing.
So, but I've had some folks basically make comments. Hey, you know, I've been back and forth on this particular product. Thanks for doing a review on it, or something to the effect that, well, with your review, I know I'm not going to purchase this particular item. I've been looking at this one over here anyway. So
Well,
just
and
things
if
like that.
Yeah, and if you want, you can go back to them, right? You know,
Yeah.
you can in YouTube, but no one just really does. It's generally just people making comments. But Convene's built for the fact that you can then go back and respond to them. You know, maybe even engage them on, you know, you didn't like this product, I didn't like it, or what, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't like it. You said you won't use it. You're going to go to this other product. Well, hey, what's the product you're going to use?
Right.
Right now they tell you, and maybe you do a review on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, within the experience themselves, I'll put the video up there, and then I'll have questions. You know, hopefully, you know, folks will get on there and they can gain some knowledge or just an experience out of the experience itself. See what I did there? And
There you go.
yeah,
You're
Are
gaining
you,
the experience?
I was gonna say, are you giving them an opportunity to buy it? Are you an affiliate for any of the products that you're reviewing?
I'm working on that right now. I'm trying to get the Amazon affiliate thing going. Again, I know it's crazy sounding. It's not my goal. My goal is just, hey, here's why I like this, or here's why I don't like it, and here's what I think you will like about it as well.
Right.
Right.
So, well,
But if I
so
make
let's-
money at some point, then that's great. But again, that's not the goal. The goal is to put out a proper review.
Yeah. Well, and I'd wager to say that of all the people that are on Convene or in our circle, our main circle of people at the moment, that's the prevailing thought. Is we're not here to primarily make money.
Right.
We're all here to primarily and first and foremost help others in some way, some capacity, whatever our genre is, right? Eugene with stocks, me with soccer and teens, and name the group, name the community, and everybody's here to help first. Now, is there an opportunity and a very good opportunity to make money using Convene? Absolutely. I mean, 100% there is. But our kind of belief, at least I know I'm speaking for myself, but our belief is that if we can put our content out there, we can put our thoughts and experiences out there, and we can help others, eventually once it starts growing, then the financial part will fall into place properly. Yeah, it sounds like you're really looking to do the same with both the podcasting and the adventure.
For sure. Yeah. And that's one of the things I really like about Convene is that everybody is here. It really is like a big family. And I was joking earlier calling it a cult, but everyone here is here for others, not just themselves. And that's what I like about it. Everyone is willing to help. If you have a question, they'll stop what they're doing and answer it for you. It's just a wonderful, it really is a family.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm looking at the comments, and you got the first couple on here right now, Jody and Lisa. Perfect example of people that want to help others, and the financial part comes later. I mean, we had both Jody on last week and Lisa on the week before, and they basically said the whole same thing. They're here to help others first and foremost, and then the rest of it falls into place. So,
and that's how you know it's a cult. Because no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Right. That's a true definition, right? So, look, we got about 8-10 minutes left at the most, and I know we've really monopolized the time, but I think it's just flown by. It's been so much fun to chat and catch up and hear your stories and hear your life experiences. But if anybody else has a question in there or out there, I should say for Doc, please type it in, and we'll get to it here soon. So
I might even give you an honest answer. I don't know.
Maybe you will. So here's my question. This is a rumor.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh.
Let me sit down for this one.
Tell me if this. You're sitting down.
Oh, okay.
I think you're not that short, are you?
Yes, I am. But
I hear there's a potential future in comedy for somebody in the room here.
Oh, I don't know if I'd say a potential future in comedy. I have a list of things I want to do in my life before I push up daisies, and I want to do an open mic night. So
that'd be awesome.
I don't I don't have a desire to make a career in comedy. It's one of those things I want to do. I'll either do well or I won't.
Yeah. Do you have material written out already?
I do. As a matter, I am working on a routine. The thing I'm trying to find out through the local comedy stores here what their time is, because every place is different. They each have their requirements of, say, for example, 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. So,
wait, 1 minute? What do you do for a minute? You just tell a knock-knock joke and you're done?
It's crazy. So, you know what? I've gone down the rabbit hole. There's a live podcast every Monday night. It's called Kill Tony, and it's hosted by Tony Hinchcliffe, who's a stand-up comedian. And what they do is they're at a comedy club in Austin, Texas, and they have usually about 200 people sign up, right? And they sign up to do a 1 minute spot. So he pulls names out of the bucket, literally. And whoever he pulls, they come up and they'll either bomb or they'll do really good for that 1 minute. And then after the minute, they interview them. And that's where a lot of the really, really funny stuff comes out.
Interview him on stage, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I've been down that rabbit hole. It's hilarious, but a minute is so hard. Just a minute,
Yeah.
You're
either going to go 10 seconds or you're going to want to go 2 minutes.
Right. It's really difficult to write a 1 minute set.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, who would you say is your who does it the best in comedy? And I'll give you my answer. Who's your favorite comedian?
Ooh, that's a tough one because there's so many good ones out there. you can't go wrong with old school comedians like George Carlin and Richard Pryor, who really kind of opened the door for a lot of people. Modern, there's a new guy out there, two of them actually. There's a guy named Hans Kim. It's a funny name. He's a Korean guy.
Yeah.
He's on this show all the time, the Kill Tony podcast. Ironically, my wife and I about 6-7 months ago went to the Funny Bone, and he was headlining, and that's the first time I'd ever heard of him. And he was hilarious. He slayed it. And so they bring him back every week. He opens the show, and so he has to write a new minute every week. And
Hans Kim.
He's hilarious. There's another guy that I just recently discovered named David Lucas, and God, he's so funny. His claim to fame is he's a roaster. He's probably one of the best roasters I've ever seen. Just hilarious. And what I like about him so much is the way he laughs at his own jokes. Yeah. It's hilarious. His laugh is contagious, man. Right. So yeah, I'll go with those two for more modern.
Well, I'm not a big comedy guy. I don't follow it, to religiously watch it. Occasionally when I feel like watching it, I'll turn on Netflix. But, mine is all-time favorite is Dave Chappelle.
Man. I didn't say him because it's so obvious. He's the GOAT, man.
He really is.
He's the GOAT.
So good at telling stories within the comedy and then tie it all in to the end. And he makes you think sometimes. He's just really good at what he does. Really is really good.
Yeah. I've been listening to Netflix as a Joke on Sirius Radio on the way down to school and back every once in a while. Man, there's so many good comedians out there. So many good ones. So, but Doc, I got full faith in you, man. Especially your impressions. You're very good at impressions.
Thanks. Yeah.
One, but we don't need to mention that one particular one at the moment.
It's amazing. I know you miss him already. It's okay. I'll be back. Don't worry. When I get out of jail, I'll come visit you.
Yeah. Don't talk about the Trumpster.
Yes, we'll build the wall together. It'll be amazing.
Oh, shoot. Well, Doc, this has been an awesome hour.
I think so. Thanks, fellas.
It was a great time. And I know it was a bit unconventional because, we didn't have Doc behind the scenes pulling all the strings and doing everything, but I think it was awesome. It was awesome. We really appreciate everything you're doing, not only for Convene and for us, but just in general.
Well, appreciate being appreciated.
Yeah. So Eugene, I'll let you have a few remarks, and we'll let Doc finish it up for us.
Yeah, I'd echo the same thing. We love what you do. We're glad that you're here. We look forward to helping you find whatever the niche is, obviously with podcasting, and help you find success. I think it's important that you tell us how they can reach you, either a phone number that goes beyond the adventure community. You want to share that, or is there a link, or something later, or?
As a matter of fact, if you see on the screen right now, it says call the show. That is my number. I know I'm breaking down a wall here. That's my number, and you can use that to contact me. Also, if you want to send me an email, you can send me an email at DOC Andy Barker, BARKER, @gmail.com.
Very good. All right. We'll certainly get that posted. Look forward to hopefully doing some work with you. I've got a couple of podcast in mind. One is called Human After All, and the other one Complete BS. So I'd like to get with you and talk about maybe how you can help me launch a podcast or two. But other than that, we're glad you're here, and that's all we got to say tonight. Other than your ugly Florida State hat on.
How dare you? Hurtful.
Yeah.
Hurtful.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What?
Yeah.
Where are we at in the standings right now?
I don't know.
Number one. Number one.
Higher than Chapel Hill.
Hate all you want.
Right.
I think we're finally getting out of that whole free seafood university days, thanks to Jameis Winston back in the day. Sorry, but man, I can't believe how fast this went by. It's been a blast.
Yeah, I've appreciated it all. I've had a great time getting to know some of your extra stories, and I'm really appreciative of everything you do, Doc. I can't wait to keep working with you. I'll let you end it up, but just to tell everybody, can't wait till next week, and see everybody next week. But finish it up for
Absolutely.
us.
I've got a lot to say. I'm going to start it off by saying goodbye.